Hello, everybody. This is Robert Price, owner of Elite Minds, coming to you live today. It's a new day here, Tuesday, right here around 6 o'clock Eastern Time. And with the new time, I realized there was some new things I needed to do on the back end as I was setting this back up for folks. And so let me just keep rocking through some of those things so that folks can hop in here in different places. So want to make sure those obviously that are in my Facebook group are uh, getting in here as well. So want to make sure that they have an opportunity to hop in, and that will be amazing. So let's make sure that it is shared inside of the group. Um, Perfect. So everything is going there. We're going to go live also on Instagram as well. Awesome. Awesome. So here we go. Um, yeah, this is just a cool opportunity, as I have shared with some of you guys in the past. There is what I want to do is give a little bit of a group update first, and then talk a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about this evening for about 30 or so minutes, and then share with folks who are on Instagram, let them hop in, where they can find this particular group on Facebook, because it is in there where you get the most things, right? So it's good to see those who are on Instagram following and hopping in. So again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free, let me know. What I'm going to be talking about this evening is what is it that I'm actually looking for when I'm out watching an athlete. It's unique, not just to golf, but really I'll be sharing just my experiences in all sports that I have an opportunity to go watch and see my clients out there performing. So I will share some of those experiences and then the specifics around what it is that I'm really looking for when I'm watching, specifically for the athletes that I'm working with. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk again, obviously, about how do you get more of these spaces and places with Robert here in Elite Minds, which is inside my Facebook group. So again, if you're on Instagram or on YouTube, where this is also streaming as well, then what you want to do is you want to go to my biography there, the good old bio, and inside of there is the link to actually get in the group. And so that group on Facebook is a private group. I post things in there. What you would like to know or need to know is that in about a week or two, there's going to be a unique couple of offers inside of that group that I will be sharing with the group. Right now, we are over 800 people. So I want to just say thank you for those of you who are in there that are commenting and talking and sharing. With over 880 members are inside of that private group. So again, it is an honor and a blessing to be able to have folks hop in and look for content and look for information around the mental side of sport, and how a mental performance coach actually can go about helping them and getting them where they need to go and what they need. So I'm really happy about that, and the folks that are just in that group hopping in there. And so as time goes on, again, what'll be really cool is just the engagement that happens inside of that group specifically. And then obviously one of the things that, as I shared, I will be able to offer some very special things to people inside the group specifically or only. So again, if you're on Instagram and you're following me on Instagram, I appreciate those follows. If you're looking for a community where you can actually see some of the techniques, some of the skills, some of the things that I talk about, and maybe talk a little bit more deeply through inside that Facebook group. is where you will find those things. And so, again, if you need to know where to go to get that, again, it's in my bio. If you're on Instagram or in YouTube, it's in my bio. The link is right there. You can hop inside of that group, no problem. So thanks for everybody that's on here joining. So we're going to, again, talk a little bit today about what is it specifically that I'm looking for when I'm watching and looking at my athletes perform. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I also shared in that group a couple of videos about this specifically. I also put a poll in the group because I was really curious about the types of nutrition that folks do, whether they actually have a homemade style, if they actually use a system, or if they do nothing at all. So actually behind me, or behind behind me, right, is one of those words. You can probably see it, but I have nutrition up there that I have, but I'm also, it's a whiteboard. So I have some other things here: recruiting, putting, practice results. These are some things that I'll be talking with a client here shortly this evening about where they stand and all of those things. So if you can kind of see behind me there: recruiting, putting, practice results, nutrition. So specifically, when we talk about recruiting, there's a lot of things out there. I mean, so much. So we'll be chatting a little bit about that, the schools that have contacted, sent out emails, where we are with that. And then just putting specifically for this particular client, and then practice results and things that we've tried to accomplish. And then obviously talking a little bit about the nutrition that not only we're using in practice, but obviously when we start to talk about tournament golf as well. So just for those here, again, welcome. It's such a pleasure for you guys to join me and to be able to just kind of share some of these things that I've been thinking about and why they're important for us, and just to give you guys a good glimpse on the inside of the mental game, specifically about how this looks and what this looks like for you. Because again, one of the things that is very, very important for me is to understand where a player is, what are some of their struggles that they're having, of course, some of those roadblocks that they have, so that way we can actually start generating some results or some solutions for them, specifically around the mental game space. And so again, being able to just do this work for now over 24 years, which is a little wild and crazy to say out loud, but for over 24 years being able to do this work, I've learned so much. And even in the last 3 months, I've learned even more because I have dedicated some of this space specifically to golfers. So I've been able to see some professionals that I work with, watch them, inside the ropes, and talk with them a little bit. So getting even more intricate in some of the things that I'm now sharing with those that are part of the team. So with that, I want to just kind of get us going a little bit. So there is this when I'm working with someone right away, there's an assessment that I like to do. But more importantly, it's the mental game eval. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. But ultimately, there's this particular piece where we're really trying to create an attitude that helps you achieve your goals. I mean, ultimately, that this right here is the foundation of some of the work that we do, specifically because I really want to be able to help someone understand what is it that is hindering them, what is it that they have that's helping them. This is like the first, 1 or 2 sessions when I'm working with someone individually that they are required to fill out. Because once you fill this out, once you start actually asking yourself these questions, you really begin to break down some of your own barriers. And then I'm able to help you build those things up and actually give you wonderful guardrails to help you. So this right here helps me because, again, let me share you one more time. Parents have asked and players and things have asked sometimes, especially more recently, I've put these couple of posts up. Well, what is it that you're actually looking for when you're walking the golf course and you're watching my kid, or you're watching another kid even sometimes? And so this is just an opportunity for me to share this. So this past week, I was able to walk and watch a kid who plays college golf. I was very fortunate. They had a match against another school, just a one-on-one match, which is rare. But very local to me. So I went to go see him, see what was going on. We had been walking and talking anyway around how we were performing. And so one of the things that we went directly to was, and I've been working with him for quite some time, is this particular worksheet. Where again, we really started looking at what are the things that actually hinder his success. So that's what I was wondering. And so I went back, I looked at this, and one of the things that hinders his success or the attitude, he talked a little bit about um, how he treats his equipment, right? So it was really, and then I that was what he wrote. And then just knowing him and over time and having just an opportunity to even have his parents video some of the behaviors that we're looking for seeing out on the golf course, what we were able to notice is we talked a little bit about how you're carrying your bag, right? So this guy carries, he doesn't push, and whether or not he's carrying it one strap, two strap, what does that actually look like? What are our shoulders looking like? So there are some of those things very specific to this particular client that I was looking for while I was out watching him perform. Now, with that in mind, this is why I love talking with parents in general around like, well, do you only work with golfers, or do you only work with football, or do you only work with soccer? But the beautiful thing about this is that in every sport, this is so crucial. The attitude that that hinders your success, we need to know what that is. We need to understand that, because at the end of the day, the thing that you have control over is your attitude. And so, because your attitude is something that is controllable, that's something that I want to be able to manage, work around, learn, teach, figure out, fix if necessary, so that way you can actually begin to perform consistently great. So we know that your attitude is absolutely in your control. And since it is, we need to know what is hindering your success based upon your attitude. And sometimes that's behavior. Sometimes there's mantras or things that we say to ourselves to help us. Sometimes there's body language or physiology that's going on. And our attitude can absolutely empower us. So I need to know right away, boom, what are the things about your attitude that hinder your success? And then what are the things about your attitude that empower your success? So once we start figuring those two things out, it becomes really clear for me of what I'm looking for on the course, if you will. So I want to know exactly what we're looking for. I know that there's this particular thing around their attitude specifically that's going to get in the way of their ultimate success. And because of that, we start to build out the mental skills that I work around. So for an example, if we know that there are certain things that I say to myself, or certain things that that are consistently going on, quote unquote, in my mind, as far as even anger or some type of emotion, now I know that that is something that hinders you from your success ultimately. So that means there's an attitude about what you're doing, how you feel about it, that is hindering or sometimes empowering you. So I want to know what those things are. Once I figure out those things, then I'm really able to help you really begin that breakthrough process. So Gil Mendez, if you're out there still listening, man, it's a pleasure to see you on here. Thank you so much. Hopefully you're doing amazing work out there in Texas. What a great player, a great instructor as well. So just wanted to share that he's hanging in there on Instagram. So always like to see those and shout them out. But again, the beautiful thing about understanding what is it about my attitude that hinders me, that begins this wonderful road, because now we know, or now what we know is that the things that I think I actually have control over, I do. And it informs or actually influences your feelings, your emotions, and your behaviors. That's what our attitude does. It impacts how we feel and what we do. So once we know that, and once we understand that, then we can truly begin the work that is required, especially when someone is coming to me to in a sports psychology role, to really help them learn how to manage their emotions or manage their goals or get them to perform at a consistently great level. So that way now they're actually happy to see more and more breakthroughs. And that's really, really crucial. So just with that alone, it is such a cool opportunity for folks when they begin my work to really be able to do this, because this is really, really crucial. So this, along with the mental edge eval, allows me to really begin crafting a program specifically for that particular athlete, so that now they're ready to really rock and roll, really actually able to grow, and ultimately what we know is that this is the process that will beget lower scores. So I know there's others out there that talk and listen about, hey, this particular program or this particular thing is just going to, magically erase strokes. And true, sometimes they do, but is that a long lasting process for them? And that's one of the things that we really want to be walking through and watching and understanding. So I really am excited about just the opportunity for people to learn and understand specifically what are the hindrances, or what are the things that empower us based upon our attitude. So again, to help answer this question of what am I looking for on the golf course, I'm looking at body language for sure. I'm looking at the physiology that is being displayed by the athlete. And I can't tell if their heart is racing, but I can see them doing things that indicate whether or not that is true or not. And so that's the stuff that I'm looking for. That's the stuff that I'm watching. I'm really trying to understand what is it that's going on specifically up here with their attitude, the things they're saying to themselves ultimately, and how that's impacting their things that they feel and the things that they do. And so that's how we begin. That's how we get started. Those are the things that I love working with an athlete around, specifically when we first get started, because they need to understand, how do I take these skills, these mental skills, blend them into a process? Okay. And then what is it that I'm actually getting? Well, I'm getting you to actually be able to dive in, look at the attitude that you have about the goals that you're looking to achieve. Once we know that, once we're able to rock and roll with that, then now we can actually start looking at how do we implement skills to help you overcome those things that hinder you and take advantage of the things that empower you. So that's what we do. That's the work that I get to do. Do it in a year for some, 6 months for some, 3 months for some. But that's the journey. And so that's what we get an opportunity to help someone understand what their journey is, specifically around how do you now know what is the type of attitude that I need in order to have the mindset of a champion. And so the beautiful thing is that science and research and school, of course, has been able to help figure out what those ingredients are to help people have the mindset of a champion. And so that's what I get an opportunity to share with those and teach, and then ultimately getting them to change their attitude so that way they can actually begin to see the results that they're looking to receive. So I'm excited about being able to do that. If there's questions out there too, feel free, hop in, ask a question in there. I'll be more than willing to help answer those questions for you. So again, the cool thing here is the work begins with this. So how do I change my attitude? How do I do that? What is it that I need to begin, or what are the steps that I have to take in order to begin changing my attitude? The first step usually is this. So step one really is to acknowledge that the things that I think I have control over. That's step one. So being able to acknowledge that I have control over my thoughts. So I just threw that in there on Instagram just because I think it's important for them. Colin, good to see you, young fella. Long time. So that's step one. We want to be able to do that because that's crucial. Once we start to do that, once we start to understand, like, oh my goodness, this is the step one. Yeah, step one is that we have to know that the things that we think are absolutely in and under our control. Once we do that, once we begin that process and be able to identify that, then the rest of this becomes a little bit more easy to manage with someone, because once I know that about you, then we actually start looking at and understanding, how do I deal with focus? How do I set a particular goal? How do I have the right attitude? What are the things that I need to do to be able to actually shoot lower scores, specifically for my golfers out there? How do I strategize? How do I manage the golf course? What work do I need to do? What stats do I need to keep? What kind of practice do I need to do? So all of those things just come naturally next once we start to understand that the things that I think I actually have control over. So once we get there, that's step one. Once we get through step one, the next phases really are pretty simple. We actually begin to create the right things to say to ourselves. We start to get true facts about what we're trying to accomplish. And there's different ways in which I go about doing that. So that's when I'm working with someone on an individual basis. We really start digging in there. We start understanding, like, oh man, what are the things that you need specifically to say to yourself in certain moments to get the most out of your game? So that way you're more consistent. So that way you're beating yourself up less. That way you're looking for less perfection. Those types of things. It's beautiful. So I'm really excited about this. So for those of you, that are out there, if you have any questions, I see a couple of folks in different places. Colin, pleasure is all mine. So absolutely. All right. I have a question here. I'll actually put it here as well. So yes, okay. So sorry about that. Yes, so I have this question here. I'm gonna place it in the group, but also obviously it should show up right in here. Um, that someone texted me this question. So here it is. And I believe on Instagram you can see it. Pretty sure. Boom. I think there it is. So this question is actually a good one. It says attitude change seems difficult, but how long does it take? Well, uh, I'm north of 21 years old, and my attitude is still changing. This is a growth question, right? So, um, for someone, I'm assuming this is, I know where it came from. So, it came from a kid, a client, a youth. So, what I know about the person that asked this question and what I know about maybe where we're headed is this question is actually about their parent, just so you know, I believe. You can text me and let me know if I'm wrong. Because when I'm working with an athlete, I'm also working with their family because I want their family to be able to say and use the right terminology with their player, their kid. Um, and so I have to change not only sometimes the kid's attitude, but I change the family's attitudes with regards to the things that might hinder them in their success and things that they're actually doing that will empower that particular young person, because they need to know both. And so I do have them do this form as well. Oftentimes my parents do this because I think it's important, because then I'm able to help them understand, like, man, these are the things that are getting in the way for you, in the way of your kids specifically. So that way I can start looking for an opportunity to just grow you collectively as a unit, right? So we're out there with our kids. It's so important to make sure that we're supporting them in the way that we can. And so this is one of those things I love doing together work all the time, even in my therapy office. I love working with the families and collectively the children too. So that's where this is coming from. So the short answer, I guess, is um, as quickly as they buy into the fact that they are in control of the things that they think. So that's the answer, right? As quickly as we can buy into the fact that the things that you think you have control over, we're not just out there just doing stuff, but we actually have control over the things that we think. And since we do, that actually begins the attitude change process. And so good things begin to happen. So that's the answer to that wonderful question. If there are any others out there, you can throw them in the chat, whether you can put them in the comments in on the gram, wherever you need. If you're in my Facebook group, please feel free to drop a question in there, and I will grab it and share that information, or at least the answer to said question. And again, I'm always mindful of the time that we have. So usually run these for about 30 minutes. So we're pushing up on that. Um, yes. So someone just, and yes, that's a great comment. The beautiful thing about this is the parent just asked this question around hindering and empowering. If you're looking at the beautiful thing is getting it written out, because what you'll start to see for me is sometimes, especially when I'm working with a parent around this and the kid, is that we're starting to see like where's the parent balanced, like what are the things that they think that they're doing that's helpful, what are the things that they're doing that they think are hindering, and then with the kid I'm able to see for them specifically too their things, and then I'm able to really look at like, oh my goodness, the things that you mom or dad think are hindering your kid are actually empowering to him and then him or her, and then I let them know that, and so now we can just everyone's clear. And once we start getting that clarity of mind, now we know exactly what we're doing, and now we're all driving in the same train, going the same direction. So yes, that was great. So yes, the importance of this is to understand like, hey, I really want to make sure that I'm aligning these attitudes, putting them together as best as I can. That's really why I like to parents to do this in addition to the athlete, because once the athlete and the parent do this, I'm able to start aligning some thoughts, aligning some behaviors specifically for them. So that's a great question. I'm glad you comment that you shared. So thank you. Okay. All right. So again, for those of you who are on Instagram, Rahab, good to see you there. So for those of you who are on the gram, if you're looking specifically to get more details, more information, in my bio is the Facebook group specifically for those golf parents and juniors that are out there, specifically for them. But then if you're just on there hanging out with Robert Price, listening to what I have to share, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for hopping in here and being with me. But do know that the things that I'm looking for whenever I'm watching my athletes really is their attitude. Can you always see it? The real answer is yes, you can. It is the behaviors in which I'm looking for. It is sometimes the thoughts that I'm hearing them say out loud to themselves. Super important. So I'm watching for those things. So when I'm working with an athlete individually, I'm able to walk them through some of these things to help them begin to understand what are those attitudes that hinder, what are those attitudes that empower. We start to align those things, sometimes even with our parents or coaches, sometimes when I'm working with a coach. So that way we start to blend these things together. So again, if you're out there and you're wondering, how do I get in contact with Robert? How do I get connected? How do I figure out or learn more about what's going on? If this is something that I think my kid wants to go through, there's very creative ways. But obviously here on Instagram, you can just send me a message. If you're in my Facebook group, simply just raise your hand there and just say, would love to have a conversation with you just to kind of learn, mindset of a champion. So if you want to just put that in a comment, the mindset of a champion, whether it's in the Instagram or in my Facebook group, let me know. And I will get in contact with you very shortly, and we can just have a conversation on whether or not this stuff is going to work for you and work for your family. So another good conventional way is this, very simple. Just hit me up on email. Don't mind that. I do read mine, but it's Robert at EliteMindsLLC.com. It's another way for you to reach out, old school wise, if you will. But it's a way for me to connect with you and get connected as well. And obviously, if you're inside of my Facebook group. Again, I would just simply type in there mindset of a champion. And then I will reach out to you, and we'll just kind of figure out a good opportunity for us to chat and learn a little bit more about what we have going on going forward. So again, I appreciate you guys' time. I have to get ready to run because I have these things that I mentioned earlier that I have to work on with a client coming up shortly. So if that's you, awesome sauce. I know that there's some things out there for people that want to learn more. So again, for you out there that want to kind of begin to have a conversation around how this works for you and how this will work for your family, just simply shoot me an email or give me a comment. Mindset of a champion right there in the comment section. So I look forward to hearing from you guys in the near future. Have a wonderful day. Talk with you all very, very soon.